They're still children. They force them to learn these things and do, and act a certain way, and then they use them to impose force, their will, force in the military sense, not in the moving object sense, but both, I guess.
Well, a bit of both.
A bit of both. Like in the Clone Wars, they literally use their cult power to influence how the world is run, the universe, is run. We're hitting the 8-minute mark on the recording now.
Literally. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Earth Sandwich Podcast. Charlie, how are we doing this evening?
Doing very well. How are you guys this morning?
Very well.
I'm spiffing. Well. Thank you for asking.
Good word.
Spiffing.
Right, so we'll jump straight in chronologically in this, because this leads straight on from the previous podcast we were talking about. So in the previous one, we started off by having a lovely conversation about stouts and how they shouldn't taste like a road made by the Romans. And then we built on further to talk about pickle and
Star
pickle
Wars
juice.
Oh, yeah, and
and
pickles.
then got onto Star Wars, and so brought up the question of, is a TV show made better or a film made better when it has a more realistic take on life and death? So using the example of, as we said in the previous, in Rogue One, the ability to have these characters that don't exist after that moment and after that film, and so you can just kill them off and just and there's no attachment to be like, oh, we need to keep these characters going for money reasons, so let's just wipe them out, let's kill them off, let's get them done. And in my opinion, I'll kind of start it off. I think that makes a TV show or a film better to watch and more realistic.
I suppose the thing we got to establish first is we're talking about things that are like drama related. Because if it's a comedy, I assume it doesn't. Well, I mean, maybe
you don't see too many like hard hitting
deaths in
comedies, do you? It's not really part of the format.
Yeah.
No.
I think I think dramas, fantasy, films that have real danger. Let's put it that way. Like
Game of Thrones.
Yeah. So there's real danger in that kind of thing. And then if you have real danger in a film and nobody dies, or people somehow just miraculously live, it takes you out of the story. Whereas if you have a real danger and it just fucking annihilates people, I think it makes it better. It makes it more immersive.
I think it's as long as it makes sense with the story and the plot, I think that's good, because the character death has to make sense. Definitely. Right? Like it's like if you've got a character who's got, I don't know, like an unfinished arc, killing them off in the middle of an arc kind of leaves it a bit like, oh.
Yeah, definitely.
You know what I mean? And they've got to have a bit of impact as well on the story to actually make it worth, like, the character death, and it has to have an impact.
Yeah. It's got to have an impact on the main character, I guess, as well, because that's the person you're living this series through.
But with Rogue One, it didn't, because with Rogue One, you're sort of assuming everyone dies anyway, because that's what was alluded to in episode 4, right? So when you're watching it, you're sort of just thinking everyone here's gonna die anyway. But I think the characters almost know that as well. It's like we're on a doomed mission to try and get this thing. So it's almost like it's less of you have you get invested in the main characters because it's like they know it's going to happen. They know this is probably going to get them killed, and they're still doing it because they think it's the right thing to do, and that's something you can get invested in. And I think like the character deaths, which had a lot of impact on me, even though they were only on screen for a few seconds, was the rebel soldiers passing it through the doors and like trying to keep it away from Darth Vader.
That Vader scene,
like that.
Well, realistically,
that was amazing.
That is why the Rogue One film stands out, probably the most out of the films made post prequels.
Yeah,
because it's like because of that scene. it's also just it was just a great way of ending that film because it left you going like, oh, that was awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, like that was cool.
Yeah.
But I suppose those obviously, I mean, those guys weren't main characters, but they were like
They were main
finally
characters of the
seeing.
film.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, sorry, no, the rebels. Sorry, were you talking about the rebels?
I mean
or
the rebels.
actual...
Yeah,
oh,
the
right,
rebels.
got you, right.
So like the rebels getting killed. But yeah, no, that was cool. That was just a cool
Because
scene.
I think like the one thing that always kind of gets me with the realism of like TV shows and stuff is like Game of Thrones did it really well, where anyone can die at any time. You know, that's like a very realistic thing. Anyone can just doop and stop existing. So even Game of Thrones is like the point of if it matches their arc, then yeah, it makes sense. But at the same time, is I kind of even rate it when people haven't quite finished their arc and they're on a bit of a mission to be like to do this thing or do that, and you're with them all the way, and you're like, yes, come on, you're about to do it, you're about to win. Dead.
Like Rob Stark, just got he got Red Wedding, didn't he? I think. Yeah.
He did.
Yeah, like when it's you're almost happy for them, and I think it hits better when they're not. They haven't finished their mission almost, and then they just get zipped out of existence, and it's like.
But that's because there's usually another character that it has
affects
a bigger impact on. So, if Rob Stark had succeeded and had like made that alliance with like was it the Freys? It was the Freys.
Yeah,
Waldo, wasn't it?
Right?
Harry Potter.
Yeah. If they'd made that alliance and marched south, the story was alluding to the fact that he was actually quite a good tactician, and they probably would have beaten the Lannisters. So it's like if you look at it at the time, it was a shock, right? But if you look at it in retrospect, narratively, it makes a lot of sense because Rob and Caitlin are gone, and it splits up the rest of the Starks, and it leaves them in these isolated things. So now you've got these. How many is it? It's like Bran, Rickon, Arya, and Jon. So it's like Sansa, six. 6 Starks left who are now scattered. So that is more interesting. Having these 6 Starks trying to rebuild than Rob just going. Like if Rob got to the gates and lost, even then it's not as much of an impact. It still would have an impact.
Yeah.
But I think having him brutally murdered when it looks like he's going to win, like just as the campaign gets underway, I think that's a massive. That's a really good character death. I think. Yeah, definitely. That's a great one. Yeah. Whereas at least if you compare that to like Cersei's and Jaime's deaths in the final season, it's shit. Because it's like all of Jaime's character development just goes out the fucking window, and like Cersei's prophecy thing doesn't get fulfilled, and it was just like, oh, plot twist, okay. It was just like
it's that kind of like, I think it is the kind of the main thing that I think makes it better is that real danger. Like people die in really stupid ways. You get people who get shot by an arrow. Like, oh, okay. Yeah. Cool. Dead. You know, people get hit by a sword, gets infected, die. Yeah, okay, right. You know, people die in war. That's kind of how it goes. And I think having things like that, like the whole, you know, the one thing, yes, it's a kid's film. You can't really, like Harry Potter. Who the fuck does Voldemort actually kill?
Oh, mate, was it us talking about this not long ago?
Cedric.
It was me and Andy. Me and Andy were talking about it.
Like, in the films, other than his parents and like Longbottom's parents and a few other people, he kills like Cedric and an old man in a house.
He killed Moody.
Moody, yeah. Well, that wasn't him directly, though, was it? That was just a Death Eater.
I think it was him. I think.
Was it him?
Still, though.
But even so, it's the 7th book. Like, fuck.
But still, come on.
Yeah.
Like, supposed to be the Dark Lord, like the greatest big bad in the whole of this thing, and you can't more just a cheeky chappy. Like, come on. Like, there's no real danger in the Harry Potter films. They just, you know, they're gonna live. So you kind of just cool. It
literally comes down to how's Voldemort going to take the L at the end of the school year. You know? That's what it comes down to.
Yeah. There's no existing danger in any of it, and it's because they were basing it off a book and they couldn't do that. I get that, But that's, again,
Yeah.
if they made the Harry Potter films again and didn't have a book as a source, you could wipe people out left, right, and centre. And it would make the danger seem real.
Yeah. I did, like, one thing that I thought was interesting when I first watched the what was the last one called? The Deathly Hallows.
Deathly Hallows. Yeah.
When I first watched that, I don't know why. I mean, I hadn't read Harry Potter at all, so I literally knew nothing about it. I thought that like one of the main three were going to die. Not Harry, probably, but
probably
because
should've.
Harry did die, but he came back to life, so it doesn't count. Won't give him that one. So I thought it was going to be a bit of like a, But then again, I suppose also we've got to be fair. Lord of the Rings, who dies in that?
Got a good point.
Yeah,
Boromir.
I love Lord of the Rings.
Boromir does.
Yeah.
Haldir does, but Haldir's not in the book.
I think as well, Boromir set up for being like a...
Theoden.
Like, Boromir set up for being a really cool, if it slowly like chipped away at the Fellowship. Like, the ring
Like if he was
mentally
like became
does it.
even more crazier.
No, but as in with Boromir's death, if then they were like, and then a few bits later, maybe in like, I don't know, like halfway through Two Towers or something, like Gimli dies at Helm's Deep or something.
Well, Gandalf died and then came back.
Yeah.
But like it was like, because it felt very much like you say, it was being chipped down, right? So you had Boromir dying first, and then you had was it Gandalf died?
Gandalf
after
died
that?
first. Gandalf died first.
Gandalf
He died
dies
in the
before
Mines
Boromir.
of Moria.
Yeah.
Did he?
Yeah, by the Balrog, mate.
Yeah, of course he did,
it.
because he wasn't. Yeah, because he wasn't there for. Yeah, sorry, apologies.
He's not at the...
Gandalf.
Yeah. And then,
Yeah, if he was at the battle, it probably would have ended differently.
Then Boromir goes, and then Gandalf comes back, but he comes back after the Fellowship is split.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
And then no one else dies.
No one from
Oh,
the main...
Theoden.
Theoden dies.
Well, yeah, but from the main Fellowship, because it was like if we're going down this chipping down.
Well, I guess
I think,
technically Frodo dies, but
technically, but Merry and Pippin dying would have had a huge impact on Frodo, big time, if they were still
or
with them.
Sam.
I mean, they still have a massive impact in like the series and the book as well. But like, you know what I mean? If you could restructure it slightly, because they don't really chip away at the Fellowship. It's just like
It's pretty
nine
cool
leave. One of them dies, and one sort of dies, but then's come back even stronger. He literally took all the loot. So it was
they also just
What a bitch.
They basically just make friends with Boromir's better brother as well.
Yeah, it's like
nicer
the cooler brother.
And it's like, oh, okay, that's fine. We sacrificed him to make friends with this guy. Sick.
We've
Boromir's
upgraded.
dead.
Like...
Boromir's dead, but this guy's here, and he's basically the same.
Yeah. I'd like to see, the Lord of the Rings. What is it? Rings of Power coming out this year.
The show
I'd like them to do a really cool fantasy look, like Lord of the Rings feel, but with a Game of Thrones realism. I think that'd be really cool.
Yeah, I was thinking that, but I don't know, with that kind of...
Maybe not distinctly as realistic as Game of Thrones, with everyone saying like the cunt every 2 seconds and people fucking their sisters and all that shit. Like, that can fuck off. But like, like just people, if a man gets stabbed in his fucking face, he's gonna die. Like stuff like that.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like still saying with Lord of the Rings, like if all those characters have died, it would kind of suck.
Yeah.
Like so, like, and it's like I think you almost don't need character deaths in those sense. Like,
but
it's
if
like
you're gonna if you're gonna have them, like if you're gonna have characters die, make sure that it's consistent throughout the series. So if somebody gets stabbed and dies, and then somebody else gets stabbed in the same exact place and miraculously just kind of heals and it doesn't kill them.
Yeah. Because if Frodo dies, the ring doesn't make it to Mordor. If Sam dies, the ring also doesn't make it to Mordor. If either of Aragorn, Legolas, and exactly, pointless. If Aragorn, Legolas, and Gimli die, it's a bit crap because they're responsible for the Helm's Deep gets lost. They're also responsible for the Rohirrim turning up. They're responsible for Rohirrim turning up at Helm's Deep, and also Rohan going to
the Black
Minas
Gates
Tirith
as well.
Yeah, all that sort of stuff. That's all those three plus Gandalf when he rejoins, and then you got Merry and Pippin who get the Ents involved as well. So it's like for them, for those characters to die, you run the risk of just looking bloodthirsty. And
I suppose it's
but if you take them out, it doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
Like Lord of the Rings has So here's a question: who is the main character in Lord of the Rings?
Frodo.
Yeah.
Or is it Aragorn?
But it's not.
Though?
But it's not by much.
Could be.
That's the thing.
That's the thing. Because you'd say the films
what happens
are Frodo.
is there's no main character really.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's Frodo, I guess.
Yeah.
And
It's
then
Frodo.
by that logic, it should be Sam as well.
But then you'd
'cause he's-
say that the main character is the Fellowship.
The main character's the boys.
Is the ring.
I think it's the lads.
Like-
I think that's the difficulty that that the Lord of the Rings has in regards to killing off people, because you've got all of these primary characters within their own storyline, like Merry and Pippin, like Legolas, Gimli, and Aragorn. So you can't really there's no secondary, except for people like Faramir. Like there's no secondary characters in these story arcs.
You'd argue that the secondary characters
Elrond,
are just
like
the villains.
Yeah.
Like Sauron
that's it.
and Saruman and people like that. They're the
Saruman.
secondary characters in the.
Well, because a similar thing happens
Ring, even.
with the Hobbits, though. A similar thing happens in the Hobbit, though. Like you look at who dies in that. So who's it? Thorin. Thorin dies.
Main guy.
Kili dies.
Keely Philly.
Genuinely, I can't remember. I've blacked them out of my memory.
Does Thorin die?
Kili Philly,
Does Thorin
I think.
die at the end.
Yeah.
Well, the main
Dies
guy.
right at the end.
No, he gets stabbed through the
The
foot,
main dwarf.
doesn't he?
Yeah, and then killed after that. I'm pretty sure.
Really?
God,
I don't remember that at all. That shows
Yeah.
how much I paid attention to that film. I was already sat there like this.
I'm pretty sure it did.
Already deleting it.
But like Philly and Kili, I don't remember. I don't remember what happens in the book, but I know that love triangle thing is not in the.
Well, there's the whole thing that Legolas is all glazed past that.
But I think Thorin. Does
Don't
he
talk
die?
about
Yeah, he does. He
No.
does die at the end of the battle. But that makes sense with the story because he corrupts to the dragon sickness or whatever it is, the gold sickness. So it's that's why he dies. It makes sense for the arc.
And also it makes sense.
But if you'd had
as
the
you say,
entire-
it makes sense for people going after him as well, because it gets passed down to other people, and they run the kind of Erebor.
Yeah.
But if you kill off everybody in that thing, then it's just in the group that left. It's a very different story, and it's almost one in which I would say if you did that, the story would ultimately end in failure.
Yeah.
And then which could then have a knock-on effect with Bilbo and how he treats Frodo going off in the Lord of the Rings sorts of thing. Which is, and in that case, it's a totally different story.
Yeah.
So
it's one of those universes where it needs characters to remain, and it needs characters to exist for other things to happen.
Yeah.
Whereas when you've got, as we use Game of Thrones as an example, where you've got Game of Thrones, people can die. There's so many people in that show that you can just kill
that's a good
someone
point.
and somebody else will
the
pick
cast
up.
is 50 people, who have got
your
long speaking roles.
We say who's the main character? Who's the main character of Game of Thrones? You could argue maybe Jon Snow.
multiple.
Probably.
But then at the same
Daenerys?
time, you'd say Daenerys is, and then you could say that Cersei is.
I feel like ultimately Jon Snow is, but
kind of thing.
I don't know.
So,
Well, I suppose the person left standing at the end is Jon Snow, isn't it? Well, a lot of them are, but he's the one who's got the...
Normally you can tell who
founding
the main character of a film is because they're supposed to be the audience. So there's a reason why in Harry Potter, Harry is always behind people like Hermione, and Hermione has to explain everything to Harry, is because we're Harry. We're learning about this magical world as he is, and so it's easy to be right, he's the main character because he goes and he says diagonally wrong, and goes diagonally, and ends up in this shop, and we're learning about that shop and that evil within whatever it's called. Can't remember the street.
Yeah. Because of Harry.
But
I know which one you
because
mean. I can't
Harry's
remember
learning
this one.
about it. That's kind of the way that we learn about things, and we learn about the Horcruxes alongside Harry. So that's the main character. So within Game of Thrones, you could argue, it is Jon Snow because we grow up with him and we learn with him about the war and that kind of thing. But at the same time, you also kind of learn about things with Daenerys. So
Yeah. I guess,
weird
I don't know, maybe that was one of those ones where you could argue there's two main characters. But I don't know, it's a difficult one, that. I've got no idea who would the focus be. I think that's something that we kind of take, because that is probably more of a symptom of these types of shows and films that do kill off people willy-nilly, is that you can have a main character, but it's more it makes it difficult to progress the story if the main character, if there is one main character, because you then know, like, they're not gonna die.
Yeah.
Whereas in Game of Thrones, we kind of, because we don't really know we kind of have, it's basically Jon Snow or Daenerys. Those are probably the top two. But you don't, they're not safe. Like, something could have happened to them throughout the thing. And and then it ended the way it did.
I think it just keeps you on your toes, doesn't it?
I think by the time season 6 rolled around, though, Game of Thrones had very set main characters, which was Daenerys, Jon Snow, Cersei, Tyrion. These guys weren't going to die until the very late game.
Yeah.
Even before that season, I think it was easy to figure out these guys were the ones who were going to hang around until the late game. But that meant that everyone around them was susceptible. And that became an interesting point. Like, if you killed Daenerys in the early seasons, that's just like you shut down that whole arc because it's like they lose their leader. However, everyone around her who's not a leader and is a helper is open. They're fair game.
Yeah.
So it's like
Sandy, rather.
Yeah. It's quite an interesting point because, like you say, it's like those secondary characters can be wiped out. And also, just thinking about it in Game of Thrones, you kind of just have your main characters as whoever is in current power of an area. So you would argue that when Joffrey is in, he's all big and high and mighty, you'd argue that he's the main character in King's Landing. He's got the most screen time and such. And then, when Jon Snow's up north of the wall, main character.
Yeah.
And they're all in different areas because it gives you a primary person to follow in one area, one kingdom. And then, as you say, the secondary characters can kind of go about, do their thing elsewhere.
Yeah.
I think it's easier to kill off characters when you've got multiple regions that you're looking at. Just because if you had like with places like Ramsay Bolton and stuff like that, if those characters will stay alive because they're impacting the king in the north, so they're holding him up there, right? So those two become the main characters in the north. But one of them has to die, and it's probably going to be Ramsay instead of Jon.
Because he's a bad
because
guy.
Ramsay's purpose is holding Jon up in the north while other stuff happens somewhere else. So in all these regions, you get conflicts against each other, and the loser you can usually figure out because the loser is going to be the one who, if they lose, the rest of the world becomes a bit more interesting. And that's why. But if you have a singular place, it's a bit. It can be a bit harder to kill off characters just because
less predictable, at least.
Or less predictable because every character will have a massive effect on what happens in that. Actually, no. Maybe it's the opposite then. Maybe it's easy to kill off characters in a small area. I don't know.
No, I think you do make a point of like Ramsay Bolton. Like, he had to, if not die, be defeated. Because if he wasn't, then I suppose. Again, I haven't read the books, but I suppose it wasn't guaranteed that Jon Snow was going to go to King's Landing and all this. But it feels like that is, very much where, if I was to write the show, I'd be like, you want to see all of these people within the same city or area at some point towards the end.
It's that world building aspect as well. Like, you want it to seem like a world rather than just a city. And like Game of Thrones, with having people it makes it seem so much bigger. And talking about the Star Wars universe, having on all these different planets existing and doing different things, having different customs, different races, it makes it seem so much bigger, and it makes it seem so much more of a fantasy like world than just here's some blokes with a light up sword fighting some other blokes with a light up sword.
Wacky inflatable arm tube man thing.
Yeah. And that's actually, speaking about killing off and stuff, Order 66.
Dope.
Very dope. Yeah, that was cool.
Amazing plot point, and all that is kill off all these characters.
But
and in the middle of their arcs, because that is for them, that's not the end of the Clone Wars. That's relatively it's just a war, it's kind of going on, and then suddenly it ends because they're all killed, and they're all kind of still fighting this war in their eyes. So,
but although with the same. It's kind of the same. Order 66 is kind of similar to Rogue One, in that from someone who is experiencing this for the first time, that is probably a huge. I mean, it's a huge shock to people who have seen who saw the original 3 before. Anyway, it was still like a crazy scene, but you knew at some point during the prequel trilogies, it wasn't going to end well for all the Jedi somehow.
Something had to go badly wrong.
Yeah,
because of the 3 original ones, what's coming at some point.
Because basically all the Jedi are gone.
Yeah.
Or the only one you see gets killed straight away in the New Hope, which is yeah. So in that sense, it was kind of, to be fair, the Order 66 is still a good scene, but it is kind of like Rogue One in that you know it's coming at some point, but you just don't know
how,
when, or how, or why. And then
well, in the recent,
that's why the prequels are the best 3.
In the recent oh no, actually I won't say because you haven't seen it. I was about to speak about the recent Boba Fett episode. Yeah, but you haven't seen it, so never mind.
No,
but in that sense, it is like
show.
You know, they wipe out a load of characters, they kill off a load of characters, but then you know, in the Star Wars universe, oddly, genocide is quite a normal thing.
It's pretty common, actually.
Like it just kind of happens all the time.
Yeah,
you know, like
yeah.
I think originally,
I
might be wrong about this, but I think originally, so the Sith was a race, and they were kind of all on a planet. Not Mustafar. Somewhere else. They were all on this planet, and they were a race, and they were quite force sensitive, and they went down kind of the dark side route. They got wiped out. None of them exist anymore, and there was like a set of witches that still exist in this, like, you know, place on this planet. Again, can't remember, it might be wrong, but I'm pretty sure they just get wiped out. Like, so it's just a very normal thing.
George Lucas is just slapping down the genocide hammer all the time. He's just ending fools. But you know, the very first one just starts off, they completely murder a planet.
Yeah.
That is that's extra. That is
yeah. But that's
killed
kind of,
everyone.
You know, in that universe with that power, it's quite a realistic thing that would happen.
Yeah.
You would just have people just going
also,
like, I don't like this planet. Get rid of it.
Yeah. Like, have you seen that thing where it's explaining how the Empire are actually the good guys and the Jedi are the bad guys? Have you seen that?
No.
I haven't actually seen
It's like, he's like, when you think about it, the Jedi, you know, they're essentially this cult, because, you know, it is a cult, pretty much. They steal children, they force them to learn these things and do, you know, and act a certain way, and then they use them to impose force, their will, like, you know, force in the, you know, like military sense, not in the moving object sense, but both, I guess.
Well, a bit of both.
A bit of both. Like in the Clone Wars, they literally use their cult power to influence how the world is run, the universe, is run. And then all that the Empire does is simply take power away from these cultists who are massively influential and dictating the course of the universe. And they want more order, kind of less crazy. So you could argue that the Empire aren't too evil.
And
although they did blow up a few planets.
You could also argue that upon that, Alderaan wouldn't have been obliterated without the rebels trying to fight back.
Yeah.
All those lives wouldn't have been lost if they'd have just...
Genocide is okay as long as they don't like you.
As long as they deserve it.
You know.
Yeah. So, yeah.
Jedi's a weird one, though, isn't it? Because I really want to see an example of, like, the Grey Jedi within the Star Wars.
What's the Grey Jedi?
Grey Jedi basically don't believe in a light or a dark side. They kind of just... They're force-sensitive people that just... I'll get you the description, because I always explain it really badly. But they essentially just go, look, everyone's going to die.
Do you often explain this to people?
Like, it doesn't... like
that picture of that bloke talking to the girl in the club.
Yeah.
This is James with, like, anyone who will listen.
Yeah.
So anyway, the Grey Jedi.
So they're kind of like, you know, like Mace Windu? Like, you know, he's a good guy, but he's a bit edgy. Like, you know, he's a...
So I've just gone on Wikipedia.
Nice. What a website.
And
That used to be my favourites tab.
The term Grey Jedi or Grey has two meanings. It was a Jedi. It was used by Jedi and Sith to describe Force users who walk the line between the light and the dark sides of the Force without surrendering to the dark side. And the second being Jedi who distanced themselves from the Jedi Council and operated outside the structure of the Jedi Code. So it's kind of the sense of I'm not gonna succumb to the dark side, but I'm still gonna have attachments. I'm still gonna love people, still gonna have all that side of life, but I exist within the Force. And they're just really cool. And I think it would be really cool to have someone like that come along and just be like, "Nah, you're right. I'm gonna just fuck off and chill for a bit.
Let's do my thing."
Like, it'd be a really cool character to have.
Is that not partially who in The Mandalorian? Spoiler alert. Who is the
Ahsoka Tano?
The female? Yeah.
No,
She's obviously is a Jedi.
She walked away from the Jedi Council, but she's not a Grey because she still exists within the parameters of not having attachments and things along those lines.
So she's still been indoctrinated by the cult of the Jedi.
Yeah, well, she was
basically.
She was a Jedi
I'm a massive
from when
Empire
she was young.
fan.
She was fucking Anakin's Padawan. Like,
yeah, damn right.
So
yeah,
like.
Andy, have you seen Arcane yet?
I've only seen the first episode of Arcane.
I was going to talk about character death and that.
Go for it. I mean, you can do it.
You reckon?
You can. Yeah, go for it. Go wild.
Okay. So
Just
episode 3. I guess I'm mainly asking James here. The character deaths in that are pretty big.
Brutal,
I would say. Yeah, and I was not expecting it. So basically, Andy, massive spoilers. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, that's fine.
So basically, Vander gets captured, right?
Okay.
And Vi goes to save him with Milo and Clagger and leaves Powder back at the pub. And so they go, and there's like this little battle thing, and they're trying to get her out. And Powder realizes that she's got these explosive ball things that she found in the first episode, and she decides she can help. So she turns up to try and help, detonates a couple of them in an attempt to save them, and accidentally blows up pretty much the whole building. Milo and Clagger get crushed by rubble. Vander gets basically blown up and killed as well. So It's just out of that initial lot, it's it's Powder and Vi left, and this whole thing spirals Powder down into being taken in by the bad guy Silco, and ends up becoming Jinx. So it's like the whole character thing pits the two against each other, and it's like quite a small scale. Like, it's like 3 deaths, which is not massive in terms of like death count for a lot of series, but they're really pivotal, and there's not too many more character deaths besides that. There's a couple which are quite sad, but there's none which have that much impact.
Like, really significant fights where you've had the shit beaten out of you. Like, like, I can understand that. But yeah, like in that, completely unexpected. I thought these were going to be like a little group of characters that were going to exist through the whole thing, and pop gone. Like that. Yeah. They didn't get a line to be like, "Oh, save me from the rubble," and then they die really dramatically. They just fucking
last words.
Yeah,
last words as well. Last words can be really good for a character death if they say something which is like really profound or something which motivates the characters. But sometimes if they just die without any last words and stuff, it can be really hard hitting.
Yeah. Like, that's why, honest, relating Boromir, brilliant last words. Yeah. Like, brilliant. Really pivotal for Aragorn to kind of start that arc into a king. But, like, gone.
Like, my favourite cinema death ever is from probably a movie you might not expect, from the film Everest.
I was honestly going to bring that one up. Yeah, I know exactly which one you mean.
Have you seen it, James?
I have, yeah.
It's like... just for those listening, it's like a film set like, I don't know, 20, 30 years ago, people climbing Everest, and like basically there was a storm that hit, I think, or a blizzard.
It's a blizzard.
Yeah. And there's one scene where they're just one guy has been he's kind of going crazy because he's so cold because they couldn't get down because of the storm. And another guy goes up to save him, and he's there with the savior is there with the victim, and they're like sitting next to each other trying to stay warm. And one guy is talking. I think he's talking on the phone. I can't remember. And the other guy, literally, you just see him in the background just fall off the cliff, and you just never see him again.
Yeah,
and it's just silent. He just kind of slips down and falls off, and he's gone.
I'm pretty sure there was one death in that where it was the view of them trying to walk back down, and it was like a long shot, so you could see down the line of them walking down, and one of them just slipped off, and that was it. And because I can remember when we were watching it, and it was like, dude, is he dead? It was like, yeah, I think he's dead. He's just gone.
He's dead.
Man's gone.
Yeah. I think
Like
in
stuff like that.
that sense where they don't
Very
get last
impactful.
words or anything. That's why
Massively impactful.
animal deaths get people. One, because it's an animal.
Yeah.
You know, inherently, we all love animals. But there's no last words. They can't say anything. Like, I immediately come back to Hedwig. Just get fucking quick
I forgot how Hedwig died.
Just gets quick scoped
very
outside,
recently,
saving Harry, and then just falls, and you're just like,
he was in this for 7 films or whatever, 6 films.
They're just gone.
I think I saw a video. It was like top 5 Harry Potter deaths, like by sadness, and Hedwig was just
top 5.
Was number 1.
Yeah, good.
Of course it is.
And actually, I've just thought of it as well. My favourite trilogy of all time, How to Train Your Dragon. Yeah.
I did not expect that.
Second film, we've all watched We've all watched the series, yeah.
Yeah. I've definitely seen the first 2.
So when Stoic gets
the
fucking
first 2.
obliterated,
Yeah,
no final words, no nothing, just gone.
it's just gone.
Like, yeah, he saves Hiccup, but still gone. You know. Are you still laughing about How to Train Your Dragon being my favourite trilogy?
I just love like we're talking about like Star Wars and Lord of the Rings loads, and then it's just like, so anyway, fuck those films. My favourite 3 are, of course, How to Train Your Dragon, and don't even get me started on the Netflix How to Train Your Dragon series.
Lord of the Rings is my second favourite trilogy, but How to Train Your Dragon has a grip on me that like nothing else.
It's got a
Have you ever read the books?
I haven't,
How
but
to
you
Train
said
Your
I
Dragon.
should.
I said you should, because I would almost say they're not like the same thing at all, because it's like based on the book. I'm like, very loosely, the main character's called Hiccup. The book's quite good, and there's some really good character deaths in that. Like, there's some really, really interesting, well written ones, including there's a guy who continually dies and keeps coming back missing something. So like he dies and he comes back and he's got a peg leg, and then he's got a hook, and then he's got a fake nose, and he's got like a bald cap, and he's just losing something every time. He just never fucking dies. His name is
the blacksmith
You're talking about the blacksmith guy.
Alvin.
Oh.
Alvin, I think his name is in the
Not
books.
a very Viking sounding name.
No, the
Or is
books are
Alvin-
so.
Alvin and the Chipmunks.
I don't think he's.
my second
Yeah,
favourite
where
trilogy of all time.
was
I don't think he was a Viking.
mate? Chipmunks Chipwrecked. What a
The
film.
Squeakquel.
Yeah,
Oh my god.
he's
Squeakquel.
Alvin the Treacherous is what he's called.
Ah.
No,
Which apparently
I should probably give him a read, because the series.
he's
is
apparently in the
very fun.
series. Ah,
Alvin.
I did not even know that. He looks nothing like he does in the book.
What does he look like?
But there we go.
What does he look like in the films?
He's a very skinny bloke.
Oh, is he the villain of?
Is
he the villain of the third one?
In the films, he's a huge fella. He's a big fella. Anti-hero of Dragons Riders of Berk and DreamWorks Defenders of Berk.
Yeah, I haven't watched those, so.
Yeah,
I'm sorry. I've now just got Alvin the Chipmunks in my mind. I'm just now picturing
riding dragons.
Oh yeah, he's not in the films.
No,
Rip.
it's the books are totally different, but they're still worth reading, I think, because they were a series which like grew with like, because I was reading them as they were coming out, and I was like maybe 9 or 8 or 9 when the
that's
first
fine
couple
then.
came out.
I don't know why.
So
in
I
my
read
head,
them,
I had
and
it,
it just
I
went-
had it that you were like 19 reading this.
No.
I mean, I'm going to be 24 reading it, so.
No, but it went up. It's the kind of thing where the books got a lot darker as you got older. So I think the last one did come out when I was like 18, 19, and it was still really good because there's like 14 of them or something stupid like that.
Jesus.
There's a lot of these books. They're good though.
We were talking about the other day, and we went through a whole watching all the intros, watching all the transformations. We were talking about like how sick the early Power Rangers were. Like,
Never seen it.
Never seen it.
Fuck off.
Never seen a single Power Rangers piece of media in my life.
Honestly, I've seen it, but I can't remember anything of it. Like genuinely, I watched like 2 or 3 episodes. I just didn't watch it.
I've seen more references to Power Rangers than Power Rangers itself. I have not.
Same.
I have not seen a single Power Rangers in my entire. I know this is something that James is a massive fan of.
James is extremely upset.
Back in the day, it was sick.
James
I think our friend Dan also. Did Dan watch Power Rangers?
Me and Dan in sixth form, so we used to stay up and just play FIFA till like 3 in the morning,
old.
And we'd get way too old.
Too old.
We'd get back and we'd remember certain episodes from like way back when in Power Rangers, and we'd be like, we should watch that. And we ended up going on like a tangent of just remembering episodes and be like, that episode was sick. Going back watching it and going, that was terrible.
Why did we watch this?
Bad.
Oh my god, that is such a funny. I don't know what show like I would watch now that I watched. Is it probably Yu-Gi-Oh? Like I don't really know.
Yeah. Ben 10.
Classic shit. Pokemon.
Ben 10 was good.
Ben 10 was good. Ben 10's one of those annoying ones where they made a film out of it. If they put a load of budget into it and made it gritty, I think it'd be sick.
I don't even think it...
Ben 10.
I don't know if the later ones almost were to an extent.
What, with like Kevin Levin and people?
Yeah, not much, but they were definitely grittier than the original series.
Definitely, yeah.
That theme song is still in my head. I don't know the words.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Yeah,
I don't think it works as a movie. I think it only works as a series because there's a lot you got to unpack if you're going to make a thing like that. I think as a movie, you just rush it.
Yeah, and also having 10 different aliens and learning about them in one movie would just be too much.
That'd be aggressive.
They just wouldn't be able to do it.
Shoving a lot down. I mean, it took Marvel like 1,000 movies to get Avengers Infinity War.
Yeah.
So Ben 10 ain't gonna fucking make it.
What film, what kind of TV show or something from your childhood would you like to see like a gritty remake of?
Before we do that, can I just say if they'd opened a portal in Endgame and Ben 10 walked through, I'd have lost my shit.
Mate,
anyway, carry on.
Imagine if
multiverse of madness.
Yeah, Ben 10 walks through, the very odd parents come after him.
There's only one guy who can beat evil Doctor Strange, and it's just it's just like fucking the grim adventures of Billy and Mandy walking through.
Mona the vampire
comes through. The Powerpuff Girls. Yeah.
A gritty remake of like a childhood show would be. I'd probably go Danny Phantom.
Danny Phantom.
Yeah,
that'd be pretty cool.
That could be quite cool.
Or it's got what's a fucking the spy?
Kim Possible.
Kim Possible.
Yeah. Impossible. I reckon Codename Kids Next Door.
I don't remember that.
Do you guys know what that is? Have you guys never seen it?
Is that an Australian thing?
Oh, I don't know.
Is that H2O Just Add Water levels?
It's a remake of H2O Just Add Water.
It's American. It was on Cartoon Network.
Oh, right.
Oh,
ran for 6 seasons.
Also, Charlie,
have a Google of it after. Have a Google of it after because it's sick.
I had the discussion with people recently, and somebody was talking about like, what was your childhood crush or something? The bad guys, the bad girl in Kim Possible.
Oh.
What, the dark hair one?
Oh.
Yeah.
For some reason, there's been a resurgence with that. There's been loads of memes recently of like,
there's been a lot.
Maybe that's why we had the conversation then.
Maybe that was subconsciously in everyone's mind. Also, guys, have you not heard they have made a gritty remake of one of our favourite shows? You know, Ned's Declassified School Survival Guide.
Yeah.
That's just Euphoria. That's just what that is. No, sorry, that's 13 Reasons Why.
Who's Cookie? Who's Cookie in that sense?
I don't know. I haven't seen Euphoria. I just know that it's very.
God,
Very
what
edgy.
a show that was. Do you remember when we used to quote that loads? Ned's Classified School Survival Guide.
Yeah.
What was it? Whenever someone did something, we'd be like, Ned's Classified School Survival Guide, motherfucker.
I never watched it.
Oh,
I just remember a lot of people going around going, Ned's Declassified School Survival Guide all the time at school, and I was like, yeah. What?
Andy, you really strike
That's
me
why
as
you
like
didn't
a,
survive
like
school,
a coconut
man.
head.
How dare you? I resent the implication.
I must say though, SpongeBob is definitely up there. It's one of the
iconic,
best. I can still watch that now, and it's fucking hilarious.
Yeah, I don't even know what a
Iconic
gritty
show.
remake of SpongeBob would be. 'Cause it's already
You wouldn't
pretty
want one.
tailored
That's true,
towards older.
You
people
just
as
would
well.
not
Just
want a
him
gritty one.
slapping Sam's cheeks.
I don't want to end it on that. I don't want that to be a clip. There you go. There's the clip. There's the opener clip. There's
It's already a clip.
Yeah.
Appalling, right?
Have you seen like Amazing Adventures of Gumball as well?
Yeah.
I've heard of it, but I
'Cause
never
that's-
watched it.
That is one which definitely has some very stupid, really dumb
kind of.
themes in it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
guess-
There's some adult things.
It's something I
Yeah.
mentioned actually at the end of, or I think I mentioned it before we start recording or something. But like, there's been such a massive resurgence recently of really gritty adult cartoons, like good, good
What, like
ones.
Invincible?
Yeah, like I think
Stuff like
Invincible's great.
I think it kind of comes from the rise of anime in American culture recently, and then
Yeah,
Rick
that's
and
insane.
Morty took it and ran with it, and then
BoJack Horseman as well. That's another one.
what
learned a
a
lot.
show! And that's probably got one of the best episodes of TV I think I've ever watched. And there's literally like 5 lines in the whole show, in the whole episode, and it's brilliant. But anyway, like that kind of rise of like adult cartoons with like Invincible, Rick and Morty, Arcane. What's the one that
Stuff like
Can't even
that.
think of more.
stuff like that? But like that kind of
Yeah.
thing.
Castlevania is one. actually.
Castlevania, yeah, like that's like
Castlevania.
really come and pushed through recently, and I think that's kind of like that's added to a lot of the kind of short form content. That's kind of it's becoming shorter. We're getting like 20 minutes. It used to be like hour episodes for everything. Now it's 20 minutes, 20 minutes, 20 minutes, 20 minutes. So
Bite size, easy for people to watch.
exactly, yeah.
Yeah.
Hence why Vine is a thing, and now TikTok is still a thing, and all that.
R.I.P. Vine. I wonder. Yeah, that is a. Do you guys have TikTok? Do you use TikTok? No, neither do I. Although.
Yeah, you do. Shut up, man.
No. I genuinely don't have TikTok at all. I just
I
go
thought
on
you told me you
Instagram
did.
Reels,
To be
okay.
fair, I scroll through the reels, yeah,
which is the same thing.
Yeah.
and
Pretty
YouTube
much.
Shorts,
Like-
it's the same thing as well.
Yeah.
The amount
Most of them
All
are
the-
shit, though.
Oh yeah,
Most
the
of
amount
them
of
are
people
really
I watch
shit.
cooking
Oh, yeah.
steaks on YouTube Shorts is actually disgraceful.
For me, all of my YouTube shorts are just like footballers scoring goals and Pie Face packing someone. Like that is all it is.
That's the
It's
second
never
shout out
anything
this
good on
man's
YouTube.
got on this podcast so far, by the way.
I love Pie Face. I watch him every day. He uploads 8 a.m. This morning I got up at 8, not deliberately to watch it. It's just a happy coincidence.
If
Great
we
man.
ever get to
Simple.
the point where we get guests or anything along those lines, he needs
I'd
to be
love
our
Pie
first
Face.
one, just for the sake of he's become a
I
little
love
bit
him.
of an enigma on this.
He's great. Big, huge fan. Huge fan.
In Enigma, it's just Andy saying he's great.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know
It's
what the hell
me,
he's on
we
about.
just let Andy
pouring my
talk
heart out
to,
for
yeah.
an hour. Yeah. You two are just barely there.
Just saying
You
quotes
just
back
play
and
something
forth.
else.
Right?
Yeah. Just like, yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a lot of what
No.
comedy's become as well. Like as a complete tangent, comedy's become a lot of just kind of quoting vines and things. And I'm a victim of it as well. I quote the In-Betweeners about every
Yeah.
fourth sentence. So
But it's always been like that, though. Like, you had a lot of guys in school that I thought were quite funny at the time. When I grew up a bit, I realised they were just quoting Family Guy. And they're actually
yeah.
really boring.
Charlie, we're right here. Why you got to call us out like that?
Yeah. no, but there were a lot of other... Well, obviously not you guys. Other people were doing it, though. Just
he
quoting
never thought
Family
they were
Guy.
funny.
And it was supposed to be hilarious.
Yeah.
No,
You
we're not funny.
You can't think we're
That's
not
the
funny now
thing.
because you never thought we were.
Obviously, I'm hilarious, and you guys suck. No, no, but it's just like, but you know what I mean. I think it's always been the case that people just quote stuff, and sometimes you get it or you don't.
yeah,
Something that I find fascinating now about well, this has not been a recent thing. Like the kind of Vine, Musically, TikTok stuff is. One thing that's slightly worrying is I don't know if it's worrying. I don't know if it's a good or bad thing. It's when people derive their own comedy, their own jokes, from literally just copying a joke that someone has made previously.
Yeah.
Does my
So like
head.
That's boring.
Like you go on Instagram Reels, for example, and you see like the same few jokes made over and over again, and it's like, but first of all, I guess I don't fully get the idea of if I see a joke that's funny, I don't understand me creating some content that is the exact carbon copy of that.
Yeah. Well, that's the problem because
I
it's all a money game, isn't it? It's all views, it's all engagement. If you see something that's funny and people have engaged with it, do it.
But like
that's the trend format that TikTok is based on. You follow trends. You keep up to date. You keep your viewership by following trends. So
I get following trends, but just not like a little part of some of these people think like maybe I should like put my own spin on it. Sometimes people do, but I don't know.
if somebody said to you,
that there's
if
people
somebody
out
said
there,
to you, you could get paid, I don't know, let's say $1 million a year for going on a tour and saying Jack Whitehall's jokes at every single show you went to, and nobody's going to complain about it, would you do it?
I mean, obviously I'd do it.
Well, yeah, exactly. So, you know.
But I think, but doesn't a little part of them think maybe like, oh, it isn't like...
I don't think
because at that point, like, you don't even have a personality.
I don't think the people that are doing it have the capacity to feel that.
Probably not.
I don't think they care.
Yeah.
They go, maybe I shouldn't plagiarise this. Then look at their bank account and go, maybe I should.
The one thing I find really funny though is ones on Twitter where someone makes a tweet and it gets like 400k likes or something, right? Ridiculous numbers on Twitter. And then you just see there's always, pretty much always, in the comments, there'll be some bloke or woman who just puts in a thing where they've said the exact same tweet about 4 hours earlier and they've got about 20 likes and no one gives a shit. It's just like, and that just makes me laugh so much because it's just like this poor bastard put this out, and just because this person's got a check mark, they get this many likes and this person gets like none.
That's like the thing in school where you say a joke and nobody hears it, and then the person that's got a louder voice says it and gets all the laughs, and you're sat there like, and you sit there and go, I actually said that first, and everyone goes, oh, sure you did. So.
Stop piggybacking.
Yeah.
The real heroes, what you got to do in that situation is if you're the quiet person who's quite funny, is you deliberately say a bad joke.
Reach into your backpack. Sorry, go.
No one will be laughing then. No, you deliberately say a bad joke, and then that gets stolen, and then they just bomb. Unless, but then again, usually these people are like the quite, not to sound insult, they're quite good-looking, confident people. So people will probably find them funny anyway. So
or
maybe
just laugh
that will
for the sake
backfire.
of it's like, oh, they're cool.
Yeah.
It was like back in the day.
You could tell we were all cool.
Oh hell yeah! Like
we were definitely not.
Yeah, I was cool in primary school because I was fast.
Hell yeah, man!
Those are the priorities. Those are the priorities for being cool in primary school. If you're good at sport or you're quick, you're cool. That's it.
Or you've got all of the Pokemon cards.
Yeah.
Or all the cool ones,
so
at least.
True, yeah. Well, that's cool in a different sense. Like,
yeah. You're only cool to a small subset of people.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
Can you still buy Beyblades?
I bloody hope so. Didn't you find yours, Charlie?
I found mine, yeah. The ones I had as a kid. I found them. One of them was straight up made of metal. It was fucking dope.
You were fucking kids up in the playground with that thing.
Charlie was just spinning around a Razor scooter.
you just
or like
walk
General
in.
Grievous.
I used to walk into like
scooters.
It's just like someone challenges you to like a Beyblade match, and I used to walk in my own intro music. It might have been a bit much, but
the intro
flares
from the
just going
anime.
off.
Just walk in, and then you lose, and you're like, oh.
The one thing I remember from school
Shit
that was
ruined.
like a big, like big hullabaloo was like Beyblade. Not fucking hell. Diablos.
Great word. Oh, what was honestly? Was that just
sick.
an our school
What,
thing?
what were those? What were those?
You never had
Stage of
Diablos?
life.
No,
They were like,
I might have
honestly,
done.
no,
I'm
you've
just
got
trying to
two
remember what they were.
sticks with a string between it, and they're like two cups like that, and then you
Oh,
go like
yeah,
this,
yeah,
and you
yeah.
spin. And I used to have like
Was
a
that
ball
was that a
bearing
thing
one.
outside of Guernsey?
Yeah,
gotta
it has to have been
We
some
say that
places.
It got
'cause I
really
mentioned
big
it,
in
yeah.
Guernsey though.
Oh,
It wasn't that much
became a
in-
phenomenon.
Not in Australia as much, because I know what you're talking about, but I wouldn't have seen those in school as much. I wouldn't have thought.
We used to have like
That
all
was-
different
that was
types.
huge.
We used to have like basic ones, like metal handles with nylon strings, ball bearings, tiny ones that you could ping like 50 meters in the air. They were brilliant.
What a weird
things.
like phase of life.
Yeah.
Well, it's like 1.5 to 2 years of just everyone that we are aware of in our world fucking loves
Loved,
Diablos.
And we got so
that
good
is-
at them. And then one day, somebody brought in the next thing. Nobody touched them again.
Never touched them. I couldn't
Yeah.
even. I wouldn't have remembered what it's called if you hadn't mentioned it.
No,
Like,
yeah.
no, just gone forever.
And I wouldn't even
But,
be able to tell you what the next thing was. Like either
It's football.
girls.
I don't know. I don't know when girls and football. That's probably when that took over.
Well, we were always
But
in
before
football,
our
though,
parents,
so-
yeah.
In
Yeah, true.
Australia, they had a thing which was no hat, no play, right? Because Australia, you get burnt ridiculously bad, so you're not allowed to leave. Like, you can go out, you can have lunch, but you have to have it undercover and stuff if you don't have a hat. So the only way you can go on the field and go out and run and play ball games and stuff, you got to have a hat on, right? And I didn't realize that there could be a social hierarchy based on the type of hat you bought.
Oh, of course, Charlie.
Until this happened. So right, so you'd have like the cool kids would just be wearing caps, right? Just
Yeah.
like standard caps, and then you'd have like the neutral people who had like a wide brim one,
Legends.
right?
What, like a boonie?
Which is what
Very Australian.
I had that.
Like a proper boonie, like a
It's 'cause
kayak
you were a
hat.
beta
I
male,
probably-
Charlie.
No, it's because I burned like shit. And then you had the little bit lower where you had it was like a cap thing, but you had like these little like
Oh, yeah.
I don't even know what they were called. You know what I
Mullets.
mean? Like the little, almost like little
Tassels.
flap things come down here
They're essentially the mullet
Yeah.
of the
to
hat.
cover the back of your neck. Yeah,
They are.
So it was like the
wearing
less
one right
fun,
now.
which is probably very functional because it stopped the back of your neck getting burnt.
Oh,
but it was
definitely, yeah.
basically like the more functional your hat was, the less cool you became. It just went, you know, it's like
like,
shit. He's
poor
got a
bastard
cap.
that
He's
came
a
in
cool
in a-
kid.
I'd argue
Somebody's
that's,
just wearing a beekeeping outfit.
Yeah,
I'd argue that's the same now. Like if you rock up to the beach and you've got one of those with a little thing down the back.
it's a bit
Nobody's
weird. Yeah,
gonna be like, legend.
the wide brim ones are typically only used for cricket now.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, I've
most
got a
people,
boonie for
most people go
kayaking,
for the cap.
So.
Question: could you
Yeah.
get around this rule if you brought an umbrella with you?
No,
No, then you were a
But that's even better than a hat.
full-on reject.
it's no hat, no play. Not no hat, no play unless you've got an umbrella. Like it's like,
Yeah.
Bring a parasol with some like deck chairs.
yeah.
I love the concept of that. Like, it's so hot that like kids are essentially forced into. Well, they're not forced, but they end up creating
You
social
are forced
hierarchies
into wearing a hat.
of something that's forced to be worn. I suppose that happens
Yeah.
with like school uniform. But
Yeah,
It's
I
how
just
you
course
wear
it
your
did. I mean, like-
uniform, isn't it? Like if people who
'cause
used to wear like shorts or something, you'd be like, "What the fuck are you doing?"
The school we went to was so I went from over here. My school uniform was like a t-shirt and shorts, right? That was my school uniform. And then I came back to Guernsey, and it's like a blazer, and you have a tie now, and you got to do things, and you built a social hierarchy based on how long your tie was, right?
Yeah.
It had to, if you could get it just in that like middle area, it was cool. Too short looked weird. Too long looked
Yeah.
weird. It had to be in that middle area,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know, and then you look cool, and then someone can come up to you and yank it down.
Oh, God.
Yeah, exactly.
What
So-
did what
I
did
want-
we used to
yeah.
call when you used to take all the books out of someone's bag, turn their bag
Oh, I
inside
Nuggeting.
out?
immediately know what you're talking about.
Nuggeting.
Nuggeting the bag because
always
I had a
think that's
discussion about that.
peanutting. Yeah.
Because I met with a mate of mine over here, and he had no clue what I was talking about. They didn't do that over here. It wasn't
That
a thing
was
that
classic.
happened.
That was the
No, it was
basic comedy, that was.
certainly not at the school that my mate was at. Anyway, I don't know if it happened. I'm presuming it happened somewhere over here. It had to have. It's classic. But it's
Good
just like,
banter, that is.
it's just like I was just explaining that you just come back, you know, from like your break or something. You go to the next lesson and fuck, my bag's inside out, you know.
And the worst part was that the arms were in the bag, so you had to carry it like this. Like,
Yeah, which is like the walk of shame.
yeah,
Yeah.
isn't it?
Like
Yeah.
you can't escape it.
Yeah.
Love that. Just as a
Classic.
kids are awful, aren't they?
There was some
they're
really
terrible.
I remember some really funny, just stupid pranks going on in like social areas and stuff. Like you'd figure out someone's weakness, and for a week that was all you did to them, and then they were safe for the rest of the year.
Okay, I think we can cut this out if not. But there's a person we went to school with who was deathly afraid of a fruit. My God! As soon as that was discovered, that was anarchy.
What?
Their locker was filled with this fruit 20 minutes after they said that they hated them.
And they were on. I think they were either the verge of tears or vomit. It was either vomit or fear. I don't know what it
Putting
was.
it out there, we didn't do it. We just witnessed it.
We didn't do it.
But we didn't stop the person that did it.
So we're arguably as bad as the very person that did it. There was like something like that.
Yeah.
It's just
and then you just
Part
get
of me just thinks that comes across as unbelievable, though. Like, it's like, really?
Yeah,
You're terrified of fruit?
To be fair,
So, like,
you know, it may be a ploy from them that they said that, knowing that someone would fill their locker with fruit.
Stick
To
free
which
fruit.
then they're just like, loads
jokes
of
on
fruit.
them. I've got 1,000 free fruit. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
I
no,
might
I'm
do that.
scared.
You know, I actually hate money.
Yeah. And then as it got older, just the pranks just, you know, became kind of just more incoherent. Like it was just like filming
I really hate
people's cars.
socks. Yeah.
I really hate getting
yeah.
socks for Christmas.
Yeah.
That's the one thing that is difficult about pranks when you get older. Is because you think of ideas and you're like, oh, we can do that, but then it either takes so much time or is really expensive or both.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
like I covered. I don't know if I sent you guys a Snapchat, but last year at uni I covered someone's walls with sticky notes completely.
Just so much time.
It wasn't that expensive. I think the whole thing cost about £6 or £7, but it took me about 3 hours to do.
That's such a uni student thing when you've got nothing else to do.
Ultimately, the joke was on me for doing it.
Yeah.
But
because also, did he or she just leave it? Did they just leave it on the wall?
yeah, they left it. They didn't.
See.
I think they only got rid of it when they actually moved out at the end of the year.
Yeah. See.
Yeah.
I was watching
like that.
I was watching a podcast the other day, and someone was saying like they turfed someone's uni room. So they bought a load of artificial turf and just...
Is this the Jackmate podcast?
Yeah, and they just turfed their uni
Yeah.
and they just left it there because they were like, it's comfy, it's nice on my feet. Why would I get rid of it?
Yeah. Why not?
I think some
Free turf.
pranks. I think like some pranks now, like if you nuggeted someone's bag. First off, no one's really got a bag now.
No.
But I think can you imagine in an office environment, someone brings in like their satchel or something?
It'd be really funny.
That
would be kind of funny.
Like inside out. That's still funny.
It's really funny. Yeah.
To be fair though, if someone's nuggeting your bag as a mid-20s adult,
Yeah.
it's either very unprofessional or they've started like a war.
Yeah.
Like that does not go unpunished. Like
That is just really funny. Like there's something really simple about it. Like
especially if they've like only been out of like their desk for like 15 minutes.
Yeah.
And then
get a
someone comes to get their laptop to go to a meeting, and just the laptop bag is inside out.
It's like
it's also even
hell?
that's a prank that the longer it goes without them noticing, the funnier it gets.
Oh, yeah.
Because you're sat there the whole time anticipating them going, "Who the fuck turned my bag inside out?"
But there was one prank which I did which ended a prank war, which I was quite upset about because I don't think it was that bad. Right, so it started.
Oh, God.
It started with this. The other guy was like he basically set it so when I sat on my chair, it went down to the lowest thing possible and had no back. Right, so I
Very
basically
nice.
sat there,
Raise it.
simple but
Right.
effective.
So then I went around into that thing where you turn the screen upside down, right? So I did that back.
Nice.
It's like a couple of things back and forth, and he had these like little animals which he had all around his desk. They're like these little plastic animals all around his desk, right?
Oh, I thought you were just going to describe ants.
No,
Okay.
but I thought, oh, what I'll do is I'll hide a couple of them and see if he notices. Right, I'll just hide a couple. he noticed and he was extremely upset, right?
Oh, fuck.
So he didn't believe me that he'd found them all, even though he had. I knew where I'd put them all.
Yeah.
And because I deliberately didn't want to lose it, because I thought, if this happened to me and I lost one, I would genuinely be pissed off. So I made sure I didn't lose any. So he definitely found all of them. But then he locked them in his drawer after that, and he didn't have them on his desk anymore. And there was no return.
You
Frank,
killed
him.
him.
It's just like, I feel kind of bad about that, but it was a bit funny.
No, that is a bit funny.
It's just they're like, where's this one? I'm just like, check the fruit bowl. It's just like,
Yeah.
it's just
Slide notes onto his desk where they are each day with a ransom.
It's just it's like subtle. I think the subtle things are more funny now. Like if you're in a pub and your mate goes to the toilet, you just put his pint behind you. Just comes back. Where's my pint?
I thought you were about to do the classic dip your bollocks in his pint joke.
A bit more extreme than what Charlie was suggesting.
Not that. No, I just did the behind me
Tastes good,
emotion.
does it?
But I mean, like, a classic one is to drop a coin in someone's pint. That's
Yeah. God save the Queen and all
Beautiful.
that's a classic one.
that. Yeah.
COVID.
I think just messing with someone's pint in any way is funny.
As long as you're not
Just,
ruining it, I think it's all right.
Yeah.
It's
I saw something the other day that was like somebody was like, "Oh, do you mind if I try a sip of that?" It's like, "Oh yeah." And instead of just taking a sip, he like goes and dunks his whole hand into the pint and then like sucks it off his hand. And so obviously you've just ruined the fella's pint.
He's just like, well, now what?
Yeah, it's just like you're looking at them like, what the fuck?
You but like so save the Queen is like the idea is that you're supposed to be, if you get the coin in your pint, you've got to down your pint.
Yeah.
Right. That's the concept. But what I love doing then is, she's drowning. Got to save her. The one thing that we did is have you ever gotten like sushi from Tesco's?
No.
Yes.
Or like Sainsbury's, like in a little package.
Interested as to where this is going.
Yeah.
They come with little soy sauce.
Oh, the little
plastic
fish ones.
Now I know.
Yeah.
Now I know where you're going with this.
And at uni, we would have this thing called Save the Fish, even though you're not saving the fish because the fish probably would want to be in liquid.
Yeah.
But anyway, because the soy sauce bottle was shaped like a little fish.
Yeah.
Some of them, I think some of the more fancy ones, and so you would put that in, like people's drinks while they were small enough to go in bottles. So like if someone had a bottle of something, that you weren't safe. Like you still got fished, but it got to the level like the paranoia of it got so the paranoia got so bad that people would like, you'd see someone eat sushi and you know that later on in the day they would be saving that thing and you would get fished. Yeah. And then also another thing is if you get the fish, like you've been fished, then you have it, you can just like, you could not even use it, and just the fear will keep people being like, it'll make them down their drink anyway because they won't want to down it when they're not expecting it.
It's like when somebody gets a bottle, like a drinks bottle, and you just get another bottle and just clonk it on the top and it makes it bubble up.
Simple.
Yeah.
Mwah.
I still just think if you went out to a pub with your mate and one of your mates brings a bag for whatever reason and he comes back from the loo and it's inside out, I think I would be crying. I think his
bag's inside out and knobs in his pint.
Like, what the fuck? I was only gone for 2 minutes. Have you done this?
Just want to wash my hands.
Yeah.
Talented man.
No, those bottle ones where you just knock it on the top and it makes it overflow. That is just genius. Like that's such another simple one that's so simple. I also saw another one where it was like I started doing it at a point as well, and it made me so happy. It annoyed everyone else, but I found it so funny. Where if somebody asks you for a drink and they're sat across the room from you, normally you pass it to them not opened. Like you chuck it to them not opened. I started just opening cans and just going like in their general direction.
You are a prick.
Like we're literally just about to go out to the club and I'm like
Andy
because then they just catch
all over the ceiling and
it
shit.
just leaks like.
I think the best one though, Andy, is the one you play on your sister, the one you used to play on your sister. Yeah.
It's simple but effective. So I haven't lived at home properly for several years since going to university and afterwards. And so every time I'm home, my sister's a big fan of like Fanta and Diet Coke and stuff. Hopefully she doesn't discover that. Well, she was at least a few years ago when I last did this properly. It was just very simple. What I do is I go in the fridge, I'd see a drink that was hers, I would shake it up aggressively, and then I would just put it back in. Knowing that
So evil.
I may never see the results.
Yeah.
I just do that, put it back in. I probably could be out, like I wouldn't even see it. And it's just beautiful. It's just knowing.
But you know, yeah. That when you get home, she goes, Fanta exploded today. You can just stand there and just...
Oh, yeah?
That's weird.
Yeah, that's strange.
Yeah, that's strange.
Must have been a bad batch or something.
Yeah. Every single one for the past 4 weeks has done that.
It's like...
The entire Christmas period when you've been home, it's been happening. That's odd.
Never happened any other time.
That's strange.
Brilliant.
No, I love shit like that.
I love the subtle little ones. The subtle little ones which are just annoying. Just like
Inconvenient.
Doesn't do any harm.
Yeah.
It's just a mild inconvenience for someone else.
You know, like the pranks back in the day that were like on like Prank Patrol and stuff, where they literally just used to like someone would walk into a porta potty and then they come out the porta potty and they built a room and put loads of extras in it, and then they just walk out the toilet and they're like, what? It's like it's not hurting anyone. It's completely innocent.
Yeah.
It's just confusing.
I like that.
Like those are the best ones where people are just confused. Not like this crappy YouTube one where they're pretending people have died and all this bollocks.
Yeah.
People, or their wives have cheated on them or something.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
The
genuinely
like
emotional
like that,
trauma. Right, that's not
emotional
the way
damage.
To, yeah. That's not the way to go. Well, I think we answered the point of do TV shows become better when they have a realistic take on death.
I was just thinking that before because we've segued massively from that into talking about high school pranks.
We always do. Like, why?
It's good though. It's great. It makes it difficult to title videos because honestly, what the fuck are we talking about all the time?
We
but I
call
think
this
it's good.
Do TV shows make it better when pranks kill people? That would be one way.
Feet Ben 10.
Feet Ben 10.
Well, thank you very much for watching all. I think that was a wonderful place to leave
Thank you.
Thank you, boys. Thank you, Charlie, again for being up nice and it's not even late. Is it? It's
I'm not.
middle of the
You're
day.
going to thank me for being up early. I'm not. It's middle of the day.
It is.
It's actually 20 past 8 at the moment. So it's.
Well, there you go. Oh, and thank you,
nearly
Andy,
time for
for getting
bed.
up relatively early. But
Thank you.
no worries at all, mate.
That'll be cordial. All
All right.
I think we'll catch you all next
Thanks
time.
for watching.
Cheers for watching all.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye, bitch.